Japan, which is an area of Osaka, which is the better known larger city in that area. That area has been known for its sword making and bladesmithing for around about 1,000 years. The company that these gentlemen mostly work with is a company called Kikuichi, who sell their knives here and kitchen capers and in a lot of kitchen stores in the United States. That company has a history of about 700 years or so of sword making, bladesmithing, and then now kitchen knives. Originally they started out as sword makers, and like many of the sword makers in Japan, in the 1860s, when the Emperor of Japan outlawed samurais, they lost their market. And so they needed somewhere to sell their blades, and so instead of making swords that were this long, they started making knives that were various lengths, mostly short. What they're going to demonstrate here today is traditional forge welding of two kinds of steel together in order to make a knife. And you can see on the display board down here, starting from the far right, you start with two pieces that then get forge welded together, which we'll see here, and then we'll make it today to about this section of the demonstration. In Japan, they would finish that section to about here. In the forging craftsman shop, and then the knife would move to a different shop for grinding and sharpening, and then to yet a different shop for the finishing. The craftsmen that we have brought here for this tour, these gentlemen are starting here today, and then we'll be doing an event at the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York tomorrow, in Brooklyn on Saturday, in Atlanta on Sunday, Chicago on Monday, then San Francisco area, and doing a number of events out in that area before heading back to Japan. Mr. Anami here in the glasses is a master forging craftsman, and then, sorry, I have it written down. Bad with names. Mr. Morinaga here is also a master forging craftsman, and then Mr. Oe here is a master knife finisher and engraver. And so the knives pass through the hands of many different craftsmen, many different artisans from start to finish, all of whom have different specialties. So it's unlike we think of manufacturing in the West, where a raw product starts at one end of a building or a factory and comes out the other side as a finished object. It starts out in a single shop with these gentlemen, where they're actually dealing with the hot steel, shaping it to a certain point, and then it moves and gets continually shaped and ground and sharpened. And then Mr. Oe has arranged for the proper handles of the right color, size, shape, wood to then be put onto the knife. He does the final engraving of those knives. So any of this style of knife that you were to purchase from Kikuichi in the United States or anywhere in the world, Mr. Oe would have been the last person to touch that object when it got put into the box after he makes sure that everything is correct the way it's supposed to be. So he takes two kinds of steel here. The longer bar is a softer steel called, and they call it jigane in Japan, and the smaller piece is a harder piece of steel called hagane, and then the powder is a borax powder, and they're going to use that to weld those two pieces of steel together. Essentially on the molecular level, those two things become bonded.
So soft inside,